Ingredients: 1/2 pound butter, 4 ounces unsweetened chocolate, 4 eggs, 2 cups sugar, a 1/2 cup of flour, 1 teaspoon vanilla extract. Pretty simple.
Simple.
Directions: preheat oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Grease and flour a 9.5-inch baking pan. Gently melt the butter and chocolate in the top part of a double boiler. Set aside to cool to room temperature. Beat the eggs and sugar until thick and lemon colored. Add vanilla. 6. Fold the chocolate mixture into the eggs and sugar and mix thoroughly. 7. Sift the flour and fold gently into the batter, mixing just until blended. Pour into the prepared pan, bake for 25 minutes or until center is just set. When cool, cut into squares, makes 28 large brownies.
In 2021, when the idea of doing a podcast about food and memory, the first person I thought of interviewing was my friend, Wes Anderson. He then described how to roast a pigeon with cotechino. Since then, we fried just-picked zucchini flowers in a Tuscan kitchen full of utensils, pots and pans and pieces of papers with recipes. We perfected the art of making a peach Bellini by peering through the glass of a large pitcher, deciding if the proportions were correct. Abundance, utensils, transparency, and a singular vision surround us as we meet at the house on Utopia Parkway, Joseph Cornell's studio, recreated by Wes, with Jasper Sharp at Gagosian Paris. Wes Anderson is precious to me. He is my first guest and now my most recent. Life is good here in this house on Utopia Parkway together.
Very good.
So here
Ruthie.
we are. So what do you think about an artist who loved to travel, but he never traveled?
The thing with him was he was obviously had a fantasy of traveling the world. These boxes he made, they have a kind of worldly thing about them. They're grand hotels and they're very international. And it was all from his little place in Queens.
Do you think he just was afraid to travel?
I
or do you
suppose
think
so.
the effort of traveling, or
I think
economically?
I think he was afraid because I think he had opportunity to travel. He became known and he didn't then suddenly set off on his journey around the world. I think he needed to stay home. And he was very attached to his brother. His brother
Pictures
did
over there.
Yes, he did those drawings over there. And I think he looked after him, and I think the first boxes he made were gifts for his brother, and supposedly the boxes were generally made as presents. That was the purpose of the boxes in the first place.
So that he could give something in a box to somebody.
Yes, they were just little, they were just gifts.
There's this great story about somebody bringing him a cake and putting it in the oven, and when they opened it, there's one of his boxes in there.
Oh, really?
That he would put the box in the oven to make it look older.
I see, he was
so,
aging it. Yes. Well,
and
you
so
know,
not for food, but for the box.
Well, this space we're in now is a recreation of his studio, a kind of. Like these collages are his, and many of these boxes are his supplies for making his artworks. Some things here we accumulated on our own, simulating what we know he had and what we see in the photographs. And then there's a guy in Long Island who knew Cornell, and he ended up preserving many of the contents of Cornell's house and studio. So all the stuff that isn't artworks, but it's his stuff that he was going to use, potential artworks, and he loaned us everything.
So there's no official archive of
there is.
If there's ever an artist who could say, there's an archive.
There's a Joseph and Wilbur Cornell Memorial, and they see to his legacy. Some of these are boxes that he prepared for making things that he never used. So, you see the way that one is segmented like that. There's one here that's the Dovecote. That's quite like that. It's one that's segmented. There's one that's a pharmacy further down. That's almost like a Damien Hirst.
I was going to say the
Damien Hirst.
Yeah.
And that's also in that kind of vein.
So let's start at the beginning. Why
did we do this in
the
the first place? Well, Jasper came to me and said, we have this space for a little period of time, and I would like you to do something Joseph Cornell. When Jasper suggested this, I had a thought to say, well, why don't we just recreate his studio here, and we'll show the real boxes with a background, with a sort of theatrical backdrop of his world.
Did you know that it would be his studio would be dramatic? It wouldn't. That
I knew.
That was
I'd seen
known
pictures.
that it was.
I'd seen pictures of this abundance, like you say.
Yeah.
I knew the work this way because I grew up in Houston, in Texas, and there we have the Menil Collection Museum, the de Menil family, John and Dominique de Menil. They had boxes, and there are boxes on display there always, but in the 90s, there was a great big retrospective. I think they probably had 50 or 60 boxes, and I'd seen some of them, but I hadn't really quite.
How old were you?
I guess I was probably 27 or something like that. I think it might have been when we were shooting Rushmore.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And anyway, I really loved them,
cool.
and that's how we got to know them. So, so it was from Texas, but it was from from that museum.
So when Jasper came to you with the idea of somehow doing this in this space, then what happened?
Well, then I said, well, what do you think we could do this thing of just recreating the whole thing? It might cost some money and so on. And Jasper said we can figure it out. We borrowed all these things. We borrowed boxes. Jasper organized for loans of art. I guess he was already doing that before.
From other collectors who had a box.
From collectors. These all belong to different people.
Yeah. So you then started going through the archive and finding what you could get.
Yes, then we gathered stuff, and then we sent people to buy things. And we also have our two French sign painters.
Yeah, let's talk about them.
Well, there's just two guys named Francois and Vincent who worked on the French Dispatch for me, and then they also worked on Asteroid City and Phoenician Scheme, and they do anything with graphics, I mean with text really. So in French Dispatch we had lots of French shop windows and signs on walls, and they just painted everything. And they're very talented. And they looked at the photographs, and then you can see there's all these things that are written, that are painted in Cornell's hand. And they channel his handwriting or his painted handwriting. And they made all this stuff. And it looks just like it was his. As we started to do this, we realized we're creating one big Joseph Cornell box ourselves with this whole thing. You stand outside and look into it like it's a box. And all his way of gathering is kind of, which we're sort of simulating / recreating, is kind of artful. I mean, his handwriting is like painting a picture. And we also have somebody else named Katrine, who works on our movies even longer, who is a scenic artist, and that means she'll age things. All the stained ceilings and everything you see here that looks old is only looks old because Katrine sat there with a brush and made it old. If something breaks on the set, for instance, and it doesn't look right now, she'll go in with a paintbrush and start making it and adapting it.
And go back to that. So when you're making a movie and you have something, a lamp or whatever, you're saying that if it, what do you mean it breaks?
Well, let's say you've got a piece of scenery, and somebody bangs into it with a dolly or something, and there's some hunk out of it. And now you can see that this is not some old stairwell. In fact, it's brand new wood, and it looks terrible. And she'll go in and start doing it, and she'll age it, and she'll make it. She'll bring it back into the reality of the movie, or you say something's making weird reflections in the shot, and it's sticking out and it's distracting. She'll blend it in. Or she'll do something like trompe-l'oeil entirely, So that's her department, scenic artist, they call it on movies. She came in and she scenicked everything. She was, the first people we said, Catherine and Vincent and Francois, those were the people that we began with as essential movie people.
What about the window? Can you talk about the window?
These two little windows. Well, this one is actually a real window that goes into the office where Saba has spent many a morning and afternoon, but we kind of tried to make it so it seemed like you were looking into part of Cornell's house. So it has a curtain and it has some stuff that we've put there to make shadows. And the one over there is more like a light box.
Yeah, that
one's just a fake, and that one was meant to. That does have a picture of his garden. So that we
I love you have the house.
We did a Xerox of his garden to put there just to kind of suggest it. So so that's sort of the thrust
and
of it all.
And is it, Saba was saying that you sort of saw this as Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3, that the windows, did you know that analysis, that you would look through the window. Can you describe what that means to look? Also, putting the boxes so close to the window. Tell us about the windows.
Well, there's 4 windows, right? 4 sections, let's say, because we've got columns. So we knew there's a series of installations, and people are going to move along this like they're a camera on a dolly, sliding from side to side. They're going to see one, and then they're going to move to the other, and that was built into the space. And we put them really close to the window because we wanted to just emphasize, here are the actual artworks, which are lit. You know, as the sun goes down, the lights come up. It's natural light in the day, but you can see the lights just came on, did they? Yeah, they just did come on. And yeah, those are the artworks, and the rest is sort of an atmosphere for the artwork. But I do think it kind of is its own little piece of art itself.
Did you meet people who could talk about the experience of meeting him?
Well, no, you know, I always assumed he's shy.
Yeah, me too.
But I know he had friends like
Tony Curtis.
Tony Curtis went over there. Oh, wow.
Billy Wilder. This is all. This is Jasper told me.
Yes, and
who else was it? John Lennon.
So he must have been able to accommodate these people. So I don't think, even though there's an aspect of him that seems like semi-recluse. In fact, I think he had visitors and hosted the people. So and there's such charm in his work. There's probably charm in his personality in person. I bet.
I bet, and also I think that it isn't just about people who want to visit an artist, because you might not want to go visit Rauschenberg or visit some, I don't know, de Kooning, but the idea that these people wanted to go to his life, and seek him out.
Yes, I think the key is whether you might not want to visit them if they don't want you to visit them.
Maybe, exactly. And
maybe Cornell really did want visitors. Maybe he was eager to have people come because he wasn't going to go out. The other thing we parallel we thought was his interest and your interest in children. So that apparently, that even in this show that it's at a level of lowness, so a child can see it at their level without having to That's
look
true.
up.
I think he had something to say about that, about his artwork being shown low. I know at the Menil in Houston, she always hung everything low. Not low like this, but like this much lower than other places would do it.
I like art low.
I do too. I don't really like to look up and see it. I like to get right up to it. But I think there's something quite childlike in his work, because a lot of his work is almost like toys, and they're certainly like dioramas that someone would make. And I think probably an interesting, I would say if you wanted to do the ultimate Joseph Cornell exhibition and have it be all over, you'd probably find an elementary school built in 1930, and you'd fill it with Joseph Cornell.
And what about children with you? What do you feel when you're making a film with your
children? I've made some movies that have children as characters, some movies that have a childhood setting. And I've also worked with a lot of kids on movies. Rushmore, that one, the second movie I made, that one is teenagers, and there's some younger people. There's one of the main characters is 11. His name, the actor was called Mason Gamble, and the thing I remember with him was he's somebody he was 11, but he'd been acting since he was 6 or something. He'd played Dennis the Menace in a big movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and and I was it was kind of an incredible thing to watch this person for whom acting, it was like, when somebody starts playing the violin when they're 4 years old or something, it was just very natural to him. It happened that he had been doing this already so long because he was picked, because somebody said, this one can do it. But he had so much skill, and he had a real kind of aura about him. But if you asked him to do something, he would just say, okay, and then you would see it done really well. He would take it and he'd be able to turn it into whatever it was. always. And he would be able to adjust one way or another. And I've seen that over the years. And a lot of really famous grown-up actors, old people now, they're child actors. Yeah, I mean, a lot of them. And it helped. I mean, it's an advantage.
Yeah. And Freya.
And Freya,
she
was in Phoenician Scheme.
Yeah.
She played an angel. Yeah. She was very good. And she was very conscientious. She had questions. She wanted to get it right. She was not nervous, but she just put a lot of energy and focus into it, and she didn't make mistakes. She wanted to get it right.
Doing a movie and doing a show, is it like it's
the
like me doing a meal and doing a cookbook? What's the
in this case, these are not my work, you know. This installation, we designed it, but that's more like being hired for a job to do it, even though I wasn't exactly hired. It was a wish to serve another artist. It's not like inventing something like writing a script. It's more about, it's design work, I think, and also thinking about which a movie is too. But how are we going to show these in a way that will make them most accessible and clear, and make them the most entertaining, just to walk through, or I don't know, something like that.
You know, I know that there's some things that that he did, and some that you bought and some that you borrowed, but there is an authenticity to this that I think is very touching, you know, that you do feel. I know your sign painters may have done that, but walking through here, there's a kind of feeling, as I say, of kind of rigor, and I think it must be so interesting to just not be able to come in and to be these people walking past and to see it.
Yeah, no,
and not to
it's
touch
open.
anything.
It's 24 hours a day. It never closes. We don't pull down the curtain. December 16, the curtains went up, and they've stayed up ever since until sometime in March when they're going to get closed. Now there's going to be a closing night party.
Oh, good.
So at the end of it, we'll close the blinds, and that'll be it. But maybe it'll go somewhere else.
Also, art as a shop front is so cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because when you go to city, I don't know, but I just love walking around and looking in the windows. You know, and it is, unfortunately, maybe they're changing that now. But when I was in New York, you know, the windows at Bergdorf, so that you remember those windows at Barney's.
Yes.
I can remember windows, you know,
shop
that
windows
they had. Nice. And so to see art as a shop window is pretty democratic.
Yeah,
isn't it?
It's good.
It's a kind of cool thing to do.
It's a good viewing environment.
Really good.
Yeah, and it's also a very good. It's also, when you talk about shop windows, this is a shop window right below the Place Vendôme, underneath a colonnade, and it's a pretty good way to have it. It's a good shop window.
Yeah, and it's accessible. So, and what are you having for dinner tonight? I think I'm coming over to your place.
Oh, you are? Okay, good.
I'm going to come and have a drink.
Okay, good. We have Japanese dinner.
Okay, thank you, Wes.
Thank you, Ruthie.
Thank you. That was great. That was good.